Okay, this is print your own money or an infinite return. Number 3 are paper assets, and this is Andy Tanner. He is a great friend, but he's also one of the best instructors for more advanced courses on paper assets and sometimes entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
That's what you are. So can you explain how you can print your own money or get an infinite return using paper assets?
Well, if you've been watching the series, you'll notice that in the timeline of an investment, the idea is we want to eventually have the investment pay for itself. And so one of the challenges with stock is we come down here in our asset column, we have some stock, and the value of the stock simply just goes up and down. It's called a capital gain. One of the things I like about the game Cash Flow 202 is it helps a person understand the difference between an investment that cash flows and an investment that just goes up and down for a capital gain. So if we want to get an infinite return, we want to hit that point in time where the investment eventually pays for itself. So we've got to figure out a way to get some cash flow out of this investment instead of just having it go up and down. And so one of the key things, and I think it's a really important lesson actually for people to learn regardless of the asset class they're in, is how there's a relationship between money and time. Time is what we call it time decay. And so if a person rents a home, they pay the rent on the first of the month, and then as the month goes on, they've run out of time, they need to pay again.
And that's what Kenny and I do. We buy a property forever, but we rent it by the month.
Yeah, the person renting the property they're not getting the tax benefit, they're not getting appreciation, they're not getting cash flow, they're simply buying time. That's all they really get from the investment. Insurance companies, if you want to talk about business, they sell time by the month. You don't pay your premium, you don't get insurance that month. And so one of the things that we learn in the stock and options market is options are really made up of time. They're sold by the month. So let's say, for example, we had a stock down here, and let's say the stock is, nice round number, like $10. There's some people that believe that stock may go to, say, $12.50 or $15. So we'll write that down, $12.50. Well, we can sell, because it's a liquid market, without having any sales or negotiation skills. We can simply click a button and sell someone the option to buy our stock at $12.50. Very simple. So maybe we have 1,000 shares, and they're going to give us $1 per share. So we'd get $1,000 here in cash flow. So that means if we can get $1,000 for that month, whether the stock goes up, whether the stock goes down, whether the stock stays the same, that is cash up front. Just as if you had the value of a house go up and down during the month, it wouldn't really matter, the rent is still there.
Yeah, please understand, there's a real estate market, and then there's a rental market. And there's a stock market, and there's an options market. So what Andy is selling here is the right to buy the shares at $12.50. In
Right.
this example, for 30 days. It could be 90 days, could be a year. But basically selling the option of time.
He mentioned you can sell them long or short. The reason we like to sell it by the month is the amount of time decay that occurs in the last month. We call it the front month, is greater than, say, the time decay out here. But the thing to understand is that if a person, let's say they can cash flow $1,000 a month by writing what we call a covered call, covered meaning you own the stock. If we can get this $1,000 a month in cash flow, as this goes up and down, eventually we're going to pay for this asset. At this pace, it would happen in 10 months. And of course, one of the things that's different about stock is because it's liquid, it might not be the same 1,000. It might be more, might be less. We're looking for an average, where rent is going to be exactly the same in the real estate market. But the point is, we want to print our own money, we'll learn how to sell time. What's interesting, everybody has time. And every month we go by without selling time is a month we can no longer sell anymore.
And if it's just sitting here, it's really a waste of time.
Yeah, it's
not selling a stock.
Yeah, this is a great strategy used in something we call a stock in a box, where a stock is trading in a range between a support and resistance. So pretty simple. This is a very conservative strategy, actually.
Yeah, it's very safe because it's a covered call. You're selling a covered call. A naked call would mean you're selling the rights for a stock you don't even own yet.
But you get to this point faster.
Faster, yes.
Yeah, much faster. In the middle of the range, you could do something called a calendar spread, and we teach these things. You know, it's part of this is your vocabulary in your financial education. You learn about things like a covered call, an option, a calendar spread, and of course the aggressive guys go for sell the naked calls and naked puts.
You like to gamble a lot. The point here, this is where most mutual fund guys are, most people with retirement plans. They're just sitting here and they're watching their price of the stock goes up or down, and net worth goes up or down, and that's really crazy.
What's interesting, the number of shares, if a guy, let's say a guy has 1,000 shares, the number of shares won't change, just the square footage in the house isn't going to change. The asset is the asset, the number of shares, the number of shares. So that while the number of shares stays constant, because the price is going up and down, right now in the downswing, if you happen to have a downswing at the time you want to retire, well, you're just kind of out of luck. You have to hope this comes up and sell it. The other thing that I liked about what Robert will say and what you've seen in other segments is the idea is to keep the asset in here. A lot of people don't know how to keep the asset in here and cash flow it, print the money out of it, because they just have to sell it. So that depletes it. So it becomes a race against time. When a person has a contribution plan and it's a finite number, they decide, I'm going to retire. Well, if they retire at 65 and they think they'll live till 90, it's a race against time to see if this is depleted or if they can grow it. This is just a strategy you can use to literally print money,
Right.
and invent money.
So this is an unfair advantage. Again, when you write a covered call, another word for that is the stock is a derivative, the option is a derivative, and you're selling the use of the derivative for a period of time.
Stock is a derivative of the company. The option is a derivative of the stock.
So it's no different than for us in real estate. It's no different when I sell a license to use to print my books or my games, or somebody to rent an apartment for 30 days. It's the same thing. We're selling people the use of a derivative over time. And that's what gives us an unfair advantage, and that's how we print our own money. It's much safer than a mutual fund.
What, well, we do know this. We don't know which direction a stock is going to go, but we do know which direction time moves forward. We know the time will run out, and the time component of that option will eventually go to zero. 100% of the time, the time value of an option will go to zero. That is predictable. We can't do that.
So thank you very much, and this is
Thank
how you
you.
print your own money in the number 3, paper assets. And again, it's an unfair advantage if you have financial education.
Absolutely.